What would you say, who's been the biggest influence for you in the music industry?
That's a big question. I've listened to so many different types of music. I have had just like phases of my life where I'm like, then I moved into like emo music and punk rock from there, and then only listening to that, and then brings me to where I am today, where I actually know everything, a little bit of everything. As far as musicians go, see what they do with their career and where they could take it globally. I mean, everyone knows the name.
Yeah.
That's
Alrighty, well, welcome back. I'm here with my good friend, DJ, music entrepreneur Leo. How you doing, brother?
what's going on, Jack.
Good, man. I'm doing good, and I'm blessed to be alive another day. I'm happy to have you on. It's been probably a couple years since we met formally, right, in the studio. I think the last time I saw you was probably downtown.
Yep.
We were having some drinks, and
You were in a minute.
Yeah, you were doing
But
your
it's
thing.
a good thing. He's been up to something.
That's right, moving in silence, right? And so I just wanted to bring you on and talk about what you've been up to, and we'll kind of start from the beginning of what led you up to there. So just tell everyone where you're from, and your background and kind of your culture, your family, and how you got started in music.
Cool. So, grew up in a Filipino Hawaiian household. Karaoke was always a huge thing in my house. With Hawaiian family, all of my uncles and stuff playing ukulele and different types of percussion instruments. My sister grew up doing hula dancing.
Okay.
So being the youngest of three, I pretty much grew up around music or dancing and musicians my whole life. My brother went on to be a teacher. My sister is like an office admin. But from a young age, I kind of already knew music was going to be my path.
Did you like start with like instruments, or where did you
start?
start?
I started doing drums. Third grade, got my first drum kit. I couldn't afford it, but I kept begging for it for Christmas, and it showed up one day. And thank you. Shout out to my grandparents who, forked up the money and turned my life into what it is today.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Did you annoy your family playing the drums all day?
Yeah, and neighbors too.
And neighbors?
Yeah. They could hear it next door.
Yeah.
I think my mom kind of, as a kid, probably had to tell me every now and then to, all right, too late.
Keep it down. Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually played the drums too. That was a few instruments that I tried: guitar, drums,
Still to this day,
and piano. No, not to this day.
You want to join the band?
I don't have the great sense of rhythm, but
yeah, I've seen this guy dance. He's lying.
Yeah, when they except if you put a Latin reggaeton song on,
that's when
it
really does come out of him. I've seen that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you started playing the drums, and keep going with it.
Yeah, drums, third grade. Moved into sixth grade, percussion. From there, once you join the band, you do have to learn how to read notes and stuff too. So you can move into like xylophones, keys, piano. And piano is actually part of the percussion family. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you learned all those.
It started
at the same
there,
time.
sixth grade, going through eighth grade, and then had a mix between band and choir. So instruments and vocals. Yeah, and then was still growing up around my sister dancing and karaoke weekends, karaoke nights at my house pretty much every weekend.
Would you say and how old were you at this point? You said like third grade?
I think I started off third grade with drums. Started actually playing in the school band, sixth grade, moving forward. And then I think I gave up music, like band and choir, in like sophomore year of high school.
It wasn't.
And I started playing sports instead.
Got it.
Yeah,
so
I wasn't sure what I wanted to do.
Band and choir wasn't cool, so you started playing sports.
That's probably
and
what
stuff.
it was, right?
Could have been. I mean, it's reality, right? In our circles and people that we're around influence what we do and who we are, and sometimes if they don't think that that's a way for you to go, people in society tend to to change and conform based on who their friends are.
Bringing up that topic, actually, the reason why I stopped was I dropped out of school in ninth grade.
Oh, wow.
Yep, smoking too much weed. The people I was around, that's what they were doing. They're older than me. They already graduated. So I ended up just giving up all that to basically chill at home and smoke. But I ended up going back to school.
So how long were you dropped out for?
Basically half a year.
And your parents were cool with that?
So at the time, they had been going through a divorce. My dad moved to North Las Vegas, super far away. I don't even know if I had a cell phone at the time, so hard to get in touch.
Yeah.
My mom, who had been married to my dad since she was, or like dating my dad since she was like 16, they moved to Vegas in '91. I think she had like a midlife crisis at that point. So she was just working in the day, going out with her friends at night. And, it's tough. She had been with my dad the whole time they were here in Vegas. I think the moment that they split up, she had an opportunity to like go actually see the clubs and whatnot. And she was working on the Strip, so very easy for her to fall into that, which meant that we pretty much had the house to ourselves all the time.
And so are you a middle child?
Youngest of three.
Oh, you're the youngest?
Yep. And my brother had already moved out. Me and my sister both basically dropped out.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I can relate to that, man. I mean, divorce is tough. My parents got divorced when I was young, and I have three. Well, I'm the middle child of three, but it really just it throws you for a spin, and it's not. It's really just what was difficult for me is like just like kind of like you said is like there's less attention and less focus, and so for me, I didn't drop out of school, but I pretty much did whatever I wanted, and it was like, oh, if dad doesn't like it, I'm gonna go to mom's. If mom doesn't like it, I'm gonna go to dad's, and it was like you're just kind of in the middle, getting kind of thrown left and right.
Yeah. And you can get away with it, whatever.
You can get away
if you played your cards right.
No, you really can, and especially like, if you have one sibling that they have a lot of focus on, which was real for me. My youngest brother, he was always getting into trouble, so like there was so much focus and attention on him that my sister was in college, and I just pretty much did whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
Like I almost didn't graduate high school because I was skipping class, smoking weed. I was just like not present. I didn't want to do it. I was like, I hate school and I'm not going to go. And so I had to get brought in by the principals, and people like sat me down like,
yeah, same thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't know that about you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sophomore year I came back. My brother asked me if I was going to play sports. He was like a state MVP, so he asked.
What sport?
Men's indoor volleyball.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So he asked me if I was going to play. I went try it out for the team. Basically, they let me on the team, but they said I couldn't actually play in any games because I had already failed all my classes a semester before. So, all right, next season comes around, or next school year, I was like, all right, I kind of like playing the sports, kept me healthy, moving, exercising. So I was like, all right, if I want to play this upcoming season, I got to actually attend class, get good grades. So I'm glad that they let me on the team. They could have gave that spot easily to somebody else who could play and who was eligible. So
Sure.
Shout out. Another kind of like mentor. The coaches kind of changed my life for the better.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so at what point did you pick music back up that got you into DJing and to what you're doing now professionally?
Yeah. At that time, I was producing, still at home, like software, and
like producing beats, making
producing
beats.
beats. Yep.
Okay.
And then
for yourself
also,
or for other people?
it was just for fun, for nobody really. It's just because it was just a hobby. From there, I was writing songs, and I was at the time like too afraid to release them.
Okay.
Like there was like a lot of kids selling mixtapes and stuff at my school. I would just make music on the DL at home as just a hobby. And then I eventually did the senior year talent show and performed original song and won.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What kind of like a song was it like a rap? It was
Yeah,
a
it was
rap,
a rap
right?
song.
It was a rap song?
Yeah.
Okay. And you won.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Did that kind of like inspire you to, okay, I'm actually kind of good at this. Maybe I can make a career? Or?
Yeah. I mean, you start to get that aspiration. It was a sold out show. I mean,
Oh,
I
really?
think our high school, what is it called, theater, every seat, left to right, front to back, completely filled with the entire campus. So to get up there and just rock the stage with my original song and then be able to win, it kind of gave me that confidence. Like, oh, maybe I don't need to just do music at home as a myself alone hobby. I could kind of start to release music. But then I got into college and I started to doubt myself again, and I didn't end up actually doing music at the time either. Once I got to UNLV and joined the university.
Interesting. And so, wow. So a lot of things happened. You kind of got into it and kind of took a couple steps back, and then got into it again.
And then
Took a couple steps back.
Yeah.
And so you graduated from UNLV, and I know that you were a part of a startup, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I was a part of a few startups throughout high school and college. And then when I left college early is because the startup was blowing up. So I actually ended up joining the startup a couple of years and then going back to school and deciding maybe I should get my degree just in case this business doesn't pop off.
And what was that one, the one that was blowing up? What was it called, and what did it do? Because you were like all over the world, really, in different countries and stuff, right?
It was called Just College. And what we did was student tours in popular tourist cities.
Okay.
So Vegas, places throughout Mexico, Bahamas, Dominican Republic, Florida, Texas, you name it.
That's awesome.
Right. So anywhere there was like a big spring break destination or a big ski destination, what we would end up doing is touring a bunch of schools nearby to that destination, buying out hotels, reselling tickets with either flight or bus, the hotel package for a couple of days, and then also access to our pop-up concerts that we were doing in that city.
Okay.
Whether it was winter break or spring break.
And was it like artists that were within your network, or were they big artists? Who was playing?
Yeah, so I mean, these are artists that were playing with us in their infancy, back when they were, $5,000 versus $50,000. So like we had Chainsmokers before they were Chainsmokers.
Oh wow.
We booked Marshmello for like $3,000 before he was on every costume and backpack and TV show and video games across the world.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So that was our thing, was to buy talent at the low before they blow up, right when they're at that curve of like popping off. So people would know who they were if you were like, exploring music or, but otherwise,
do you think
they weren't bigger till later.
So do you think that your guys' part in what you were doing had to do with a lot of exposure that Chainsmokers and Marshmello got to where they're at today?
I never thought about it like that, but I can definitely see that. Yeah, we're traveling students from multiple states, so they're getting exposure not to just one city. It could be 15 different cities, 15 different schools.
Yeah.
And it's the most people, it's people with a very high outreach and large network, right? College students who are spending every day together. And
how much is it to book Marshmello today?
I would probably say, I don't even know, $75,000 plus.
Yeah, it's gotta be. I was thinking a lot more than that.
Yeah, so I'm not even sure.
Or Chainsmokers.
But I will say, like, back then it was like $3 to $5K.
Yeah, it's got to be multiple six figures at this point, to book those guys for. I mean, they're touring and playing in the biggest venues in the world. EDC and all the other ones. I don't. You know them better than I do.
Yeah.
But
so, I mean, to kind of bring us back to where you said you had music for a while, you took a step back. You were into music for a little bit, took a step back. When I had the opportunity to continue pursuing music after winning the talent show, that was the peak of my life, high school talent show.
Right.
Senior year, man. I think once I got into college and I started to explore like the business side of things of music, I took a step back of making my own music because I was like, wow, I can still be involved in the industry. And it's super fun, living like a rock star, and I'm making money while doing it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I thought, okay, this is going to be my lane in music. I don't have to really pursue my stuff. This is a perfect niche for me where I'm still in the scene. I'm making money. Yeah.
And then what transitioned you into where you're at today with DJing and?
Great question. I think it was a pandemic. Yeah.
Okay.
So I was with the company basically from college all the way through 2020. That's when they started letting people go. So I was kind of in that industry for 10 years. When I left, I was a national sales manager, national sales trainer. right? I had a salary. I was getting commission off of all the salespeople that I've trained across the country. Had a 401k match, full coverage benefits, health, dental, vision. So it was like I didn't really have a reason to leave it.
Sure.
Everything was nice and cush. Had my house, had my car. I was making decent money at a very young age.
Yeah.
So I honestly don't think I would have had the courage or balls to leave that security until I was furloughed by the company.
Okay.
And then at that point, I'm not someone to just sit still. So immediately started thinking of what can I do next. I had already been DJing for a while. I'd already been making music for a while. So in my head, I was like, all right, it's pretty much a sign. I got money saved. I've got a whole bunch of equipment. Let's start executing how I can plan a business around this. And when things start to open up, I don't have to go back to that company. I can just launch my own thing.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. It sounds like you said, you were in a position that was comfortable. You were in a position that provided security to you. You had a salary, benefits, 401k, all the things that, provide stability, and you had no reason to leave that.
Yeah.
And you were forced to leave your comfort zone. You were forced to then start taking a risk and really betting on yourself to build something way bigger than that.
Yeah, I mean, I've always thought about it. I was saving money, always had like this plan B in mind. Would I have executed it though is the question if I wasn't forced to.
Yeah.
And now, kind of turning this conversation to current day, I'm definitely loving it. Have the ability to almost make my own schedule, or, the harder I work, the more reward I reap out of it. But if I do want to take a vacation off for a week, I can. Yeah. Over there, I was kind of getting commissions. I had my salary. On the sales side, you make commissions, but it's a specific percentage,
Sure.
Right? Here, owning the company myself, I can strike deals with different properties, different casinos, different clubs, different festivals, alongside myself as an artist, the other artists that I manage as well. And it's unlimited potential.
Yeah.
So there's literally no cap on what we can make per month, per year. And seeing it grow year over year gets me highly excited.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I'm really happy that of your success you've created. What would you say? How many people are you managing? How many artists?
So there's two sides to the business. One is just playing agent, helping people find gigs.
Yeah.
It's non-exclusive. They can still do their own thing.
Is that strictly DJs or is it artists?
So it's 4 bands, like 4 piano players, 1 acoustic guitar / singer, and then like 20 DJs, all genres.
Okay.
Yep. So pretty much the pitch is when you contact us, you let us know what you need, right?
Okay.
If you need a Spanish-speaking DJ who can MC and spin Latin music for the night, it's not going to be me,
Sure.
right? I'm going to delegate to somebody else on the team. Whereas if you were shopping with a competitor, that individual might say, well, let me get a playlist of what you want, and then I'll just mix that music all night.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to put you in touch with the person who will actually execute it to your satisfaction. But if they don't want a DJ, they want live music, all right, the next question is, like, what kind, right? Do you want pop? Do you want jazz? Okay, you want jazz. I'll introduce you to the jazz live act. So.
And then the other side of the business is.
Oh, sorry.
Is focusing on yourself and your
so
brand.
The other side is managing artists full-time.
Oh, okay.
So as an agency, we're bringing in additional leads to musicians who are trying to be full-time. And then on the opposite end, there are full-time artists who are looking for full-time managers. And the reason why we only have a couple of those is it's very difficult to manage them. You're managing everything for them. So that's the moment someone emails them to book them, you're immediately looped in. You do the negotiation. Then you're handling the contracts. You're doing the invoices. You're doing payment collections, all on their behalf, along with consulting, marketing, original music releases, etc. So on this side, it's more so going to be a lot of like people who are making original music as well as playing covers or doing DJ sets of other people's music. It'll be people also making original music as well. Does that make sense? I didn't lose you.
No, I got you. I got you. So, I mean, it sounds like so your agency is what you really been focusing on building the last few years since COVID hit.
Yes, because looking at the data, that's what's bringing in the most revenue.
Sure.
And for us being a music agency in Vegas, the goal of mine is to partner direct with the venue on some sort of like preferred vendor level or even exclusive partner where anything music-wise going down in this space is coming through my company.
I love it. Well,
So yeah, trying to gobble up more accounts
Yeah.
and infiltrate the market.
and so what's been the most effective for you thus far in attracting clients and growing that business?
I think it's the variety of music, right? The mix between live and DJ. And then if you're choosing between live and DJ, you can also choose your genre. So let's just say, for example, there's a shop at the Crystals. Perfect example. They reached out to us saying we had a DJ that was working in here. We'd book him, once a week. But there would be times where he has already pre-booked other places. So, because they never had the same day. It wasn't like the same Friday from 6 to 10, every Friday from 6 to 10. It was kind of when they needed him.
Yeah.
And they reached out saying we would rather work with a team of DJs. So we're not stuck trying to find one on Google last minute when we already have a partner who ended up getting booked.
Yeah.
So we'd rather work with someone where whenever we call, whether it's 48 hours before or on a holiday, we have someone that we can rely on, or a team of DJs that we can rely on that can fulfill the gig.
And so how have you marketed yourself, your agency, so that people like that know how to contact you, how to find you?
We are now like third on Google. If you were to put like DJ for Hire Las Vegas, for example.
Okay.
Started the company. We launched the company in June 2021. The first event, I believe you guys were there, was at Ferguson's. That was like the first event back from like the pandemic.
Okay.
So it's been just over 2 years. We're able to get the SEO ranking up. Yelp, found on Yelp, I think like first page.
Got it.
And, I think just for me following up with the clients, and if they had a good time, hopefully they leave a review on their experience.
What makes you guys different than any other agency?
That one I would say out loud, but I think I'll keep my cards close on that one in case any competitors have come across this podcast.
What I mean is, if I'm an artist, right?
Yeah.
If I'm an artist looking for an agency.
Gotcha,
To
okay. Okay, for me, I
what-
thought you were talking about as a business. Why would I hire you versus a competitor, right? If it was
not as a business.
Okay.
As an artist, like why would I work with you versus another agency? What makes you guys different?
Okay. Well, I mean, first and foremost, we have a full team, right? We have 2 people on the marketing side, director of operations, an accountant, myself doing sales and running, playing CEO. So it's not just like me working off my computer wherever the hell I am. It's a full team functioning in the background. So when we are saying, all right, someone's sorting the invoice, it's not necessarily always going to have to be me. And whenever I have the time to do it, we have people out there sending it out and following up for the cash on the accounting end, accounts payable, accounts receivable. So I think the operation is running flawlessly with very qualified team members. And that just comes from an aspect of my history within the music industry. I feel like doing these massive events with artists like Steve Aoki, Migos, Playboi Carti, Wiz Khalifa, just to name a few. And this is happening in not just in Vegas, but Cancun, Cabo, Bahamas, Miami, some of the biggest party cities across the globe. I mean, I had my hand in that, and have experience working in the industry for, like I mentioned, almost 10 years.
Yeah.
So if you want to, rely on somebody, yes, they can be good at business, You know, a lot of people are good at business, and a lot of business strategies work across many different industries, but I am well experienced in this one in particular.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting, like when it comes to business, when it comes to knowing your value and associating a dollar amount to that, a lot of people that are out there, when they're looking for a service or a product, a lot of them shop on price.
Yeah.
And one thing that I've been very clear about is knowing what I'm worth to somebody else. And if you're just shopping on price, you're probably not my customer. You're probably not a good fit for what I'm doing, because I know that the value that I bring is worth a lot more than XYZ company over here, XYZ service over here.
Yeah.
And so
I can go off on that topic
yeah,
all day long.
Yeah, because I'm sure, like, but you've got to, and it's easy to just say, all right, well, I can do it for this, I can do it for that. But to really run a successful business, you've got to know your value. You've got to know what you're worth to people, and the services that you're offering, they're more expensive for a reason.
Yeah.
A lot of companies will give you a cheaper price, but what are you missing out on? What corners are they cutting? Like, it's not just I'm charging more because I want to make more money. I'm charging more because, like you said, I've got more experience.
Yeah.
I've been successful. I have credibility. I've worked with people who have had success. So I just think that that's something when it comes to business, is knowing your value, knowing what you're worth, and putting a dollar amount attached to that and being firm on it. And if that's not where you're at, then it's probably not a good fit.
I have a perfect example on that. We got an inquiry last night.
Okay.
It was someone trying to do a house party for Halloween, October 28th. I think it's the Saturday of Halloween weekend.
Okay.
And quoted them like, I don't know, $125 an hour, which is not the best amount of money for the DJ. It's like industry standard, just above industry standard, here in Vegas at least. And that person says, well, after I quoted, the question was, is that within your budget, and would you like to tackle the next steps on your booking? And the response was, actually, it's not within my budget. Can we get it down? And yes, you can get it down by reducing your hours, right? Instead of doing a 5-hour event, let's do a 3-hour event where we're there. But I'm not going to budge on the rate because, like what you said, it's not just me that has played festivals and clubs. Majority of the DJs that we're recruiting or working with as contractors, they've also opened up for substantial names. They've also played at various music festivals. They've also played at a club level. Yeah. So whether it's me or someone else, you still have to pay the rate.
Yeah, and I think it's like, it goes to show, like, I would bet that you're going to represent people that you want to put your name behind, right? You're not just going to represent any old DJ or any old person.
Yeah.
And if you would, yeah, sure, I can get you a DJ for $50 an hour. He's done 2 high school dances and he's available. Like, you're coming to me because I've got the best in town. Yeah. And it's being confident in saying that to people and being okay to walk away and say, I don't need your business.
And so we do that too. Like, if there's like a lower hanging fruit type of booking, right? I may give a shot to someone who's been contacting us who doesn't have a lot of experience, but they can use the experience. And I'll be completely honest with the customer. Okay, well, that's our rate for like our roster DJs. But I have someone that's in the back pocket that's been wanting to, work as a contractor for us, who is entry level, that will work for that amount.
Got it.
And if I trust them, I'll do the contract.
Yeah.
If I'm not completely, if I still don't know if I trust them as much yet, then I will just delegate it to them, make the intro. They'll book it themselves and then keep all the money. I don't need to take a commission off the lead. Mm-hmm. That way, if it does go south, it's not on us.
Yeah, and I mean, I think part of building a brand is you've got to provide value to people. And especially in the beginning stages when you're getting started and you're growing, is providing value, sometimes for free, to see the long-term benefits and see people will do good by you if you do good by them.
Yeah.
Right? And so, like you said, yes, I know my value, but I'm also here to help and serve people, and knowing what your mission is to help, you know, help DJs and help artists and help people grow. So even if, like you said, maybe you're not a good fit or you can't afford the full-time services, but when something comes along my desk that I feel is a good fit for you, like I'm gonna help and serve you. And so that's the approach that, I'm taking with the studio. I'm taking with what I'm doing here, because at the end of the day, this is my agency for marketing, content creation, web development, everything that I've been doing the last 10 years myself, and I just want to provide value.
Yeah.
Like, I want to bring people like yourself on and provide a platform for people to create massive amounts of content at scale, to help grow their brand and spread their message and create awareness around what they're doing. And so that's really what, the purpose is of what I'm doing. And it's networking. It's bringing people on, and then someone and you bring them in. And I don't, like, my studio's just sitting here, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't cost me any money, really, that much money, to have someone come in and sit here for an hour. It's time.
Yeah, the time is up. The time is it.
Yeah, and the equipment and all this stuff, but at the end of the day, I already bought it. It's here.
It's stationary.
Yeah.
The only thing you got to give up a little bit is a little bit of your time.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, you don't know who you'll meet out of it on a network level.
Yeah. And so let's talk about with where you're at, because you've created a lot of success in the last few years. What's been your mindset that's gotten you there, and what would you say, like, you learned the most about yourself?
So, I mean, doing music is my number one passion, right? Playing, performing, writing, producing, etc. I mean, that's where I started off as a kid all the way through now. Still kind of like a little kid when I'm in the studio. That'll always be the passion, is creating. So, for me, the plan was like, all right, when I was looking at this business, I knew that there was a way to make money off of being an agent or a manager. You see other people doing it. But for me, I was like, all right, maybe that's not my long-term play. So I was looking at competitors in the city that kind of doing something similar to us. And I told myself, could I build enough business and market share, take enough market share to where I can just sell the business to the competitors within 5 years. So currently at like $375,000 revenue right now, probably hit $500,000 next year. Hopefully can double that and be at $1 million the following year. And at that point, I feel like we would have made enough noise within the city to where I can either, I hypothetically sell the business to a competitor, and then take that money and build my own personal brand and help out other people's initiatives who are also trying to do music full time. So not necessarily just personal, still like helping others. I think that's one big thing about Spotlight is the mission is to give enough gigs to people who want to quit their 9-to-5 and do music full time. That is my mission with the business. So if I can do that and grow it, then it's all gravy over here.
I love that. And so, like, because in the past you had, to me, it sounded like doubt was what stopped you when you got into music and then got out and got into it and got out. Yeah. Now you've stuck with it. So, like, what's cleared that doubt in your mind? Like, what's your mentality been that's like gotten you to where you're at?
I just don't think I was ready yet.
Okay.
In high school, if I was so passionate about it, I would have given up high school for music. I mean, I gave it up for smoking weed. Of course, I would give it up for something I do love. But I don't think I was ready. I didn't have enough equipment, and I wasn't funded enough. I probably needed to enjoy myself a little bit. When I got into college, yes, I could have focused on music, but at the time, I was making friends. I was making a network. I was learning stuff in business classes. I was learning stuff in communication classes, and I think all of that was meant to be going on at that specific time. So when I did get the opportunity to leap into the music industry on my terms, I had all those experiences already done and over with, whether it was the fun stuff, traveling, etc., or the experiences of gaining the knowledge I needed to now be where I'm at today. So although it was always like one step forward, one step back, I do think all those times were necessary for what I needed to do and learn before I got into what I'm doing today, 24 hours a day.
Got it. So it's nonstop. It's just every day is a grind. Every day I guess that's the thing is, like you said, you're passionate and your vision is to help people, leave their 9 to 5s to pursue music full time. And it really is full time. A lot of people have this idea that business owners and people, they've just got all this freedom. And hypothetically, if I wanted to take a trip and go away for a few weeks, I could. However,
when you come back, your email inbox is gonna be swamped.
There's like a funny meme. It's like I quit my 9 to 5 and now I work 24/7.
Yep, I've seen that one.
And it really is true, because when you're growing something and you're building something and you become obsessed with it, it consumes you on a daily basis. You think about it when you wake up in the morning, and you think about it when you lay your head on the pillow at night.
Yeah.
It to me, you've got to have that obsession if you really want to grow something and have it be sex. If you really want to,
whoa,
cut! Don't get. I'm gonna get canceled. If you want to be successful and you want to grow something and you want to make a lot of money with it too, it's got to consume you.
Yeah.
I think a lot of society is confused and tricked by social media and making it look like this is just easy.
Yeah,
when,
like drop shipping. Oh, you can do this and then turn on a couple of these things and you'll be making money while you sleep.
Yeah, AI.
Because you put all the work while you were awake is the reason why you're making money while you sleep.
Yeah, and it's, a lot of that is clickbait, but at the end of the day, there's AI and there's automation and there's all those tools you can use, but trust me, if you want to make 7 figures in a business, it takes every ounce of you every single day. And I have a prediction. I don't think you're going to sell anytime soon, because I think it's your baby, dude. I think it's something that you're proud of, and it's going to be hard to let go of. And look, everyone's got their number, but, for me, I get bored when I go on vacation. After a few days, I'm like, okay, this is fun, but I'm ready to get back and get my hands dirty and go back to the grind. So, I love what you're doing. I love it that you're passionate about it, and you got to be passionate about what you're doing. Otherwise, you're not going to be obsessed. You're not going to, follow through to the end result on what your long-term vision is. You're just going to get bored, and you're going to treat it like, like a 9 to 5. You got to treat it like it's yours, it's your own, and you created it.
Yeah, I'm happy, running a business in the industry that I'm passionate about. That definitely helps. One thing you said was quit the 9 to 5. Now you're working 24/7. When I first saw that online, it spoke to me so much. I was just laughing.
Yeah.
But what I told my girl was I quit my 9 to 5 p.m. to work 9 to 5 a.m. because I'm at the clubs now.
Right.
Literally. Show up at 9, club opens at 10. We're not off till 4 in the morning, getting home at 5.
So what's that like in terms of being a DJ? Because there's a lot of DJs that are just going to be DJs at local places and not really make it, to the next level because of that scene of partying and drinking. I know a lot of DJs that, they go and they're DJing and they're getting fucked up. Nothing wrong with that, but that's just, to me, what do you think, how has that impacted you? How have you been able to stay focused? And
yeah, I mean, it's definitely tough, especially when you're getting free alcohol. People are offering you drugs. And don't get me wrong, I do party once a week. I'll drink once a week.
Sure.
But that's because I need to let loose. If I were to just focus on business 24/7, 7 days a week, I think I would go crazy. There's definitely, for me at least, got to be a mix. And I'm sure, everyone talks about, the hustle culture, or we've said it multiple times, are you putting in hours 24/7? Reality is you are. But for me, I'm not sure about you, and I'm assuming, I hope so, is the work you're putting in is also work on working out, exercising, you know what I mean? Mental health, meditation, goal setting, whatever it is, mentally, physically. And it's got to be also a mix of, if you're drinking on the weekends, you got to take a few days to where you're drinking lots of water to counter that. You're, hitting the steam room, getting out those bad toxins, and eating clean. It's got to be a balance, in my personal opinion, because you see these movies and stuff back in the day where it's rock star lifestyle, 24/7, drinking, doing drugs, and then all of a sudden you're, I don't know, committing suicide or someone's in rehab. I think that modern day musicians are actually seeing the balance that is necessary for longevity in their career.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. I think that your habits need to line up outside of work with what you want to create in work, right? And you've got to be able to be focused and have energy and take care of your body, take care of your mind, because I mean, depression and anxiety are a real thing that, especially as an entrepreneur, it can get lonely. It can get tough sometimes, and especially when you're the one at the top, who do you look to? Who do you go to? It's good to have mentors, but you know, when your habits are good outside of what you're doing on a daily basis, it can propel you to the next level, and you almost use it as rocket fuel for what you're doing every day. And that does create that balance like you talked about. Of course, you got to go out and have fun. You know, part of that is taking care of your spirit.
I just remembered you've been posting this exact video, actually. It's the grind, and then it switches over to the you and who knows where. Some
Which
other.
one? Oh yeah, yeah.
There's multiple versions of it.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I've got some reels that have been made of just showing that, because I don't know. It's just like, to me, I want to be authentic of what I'm posting. I want to post stuff that is actually what I'm doing, and not just like I'm gonna go film myself feeding a homeless person because I want to show everybody that. Like, I want to just be authentic. And show what's real, because there's a lot of influencers out there that aren't really influencing positive things. So I just want to motivate people. I think that, I mean, for me, being in business, there's challenges that come up, there's obstacles, and they're tough, and they can knock you down, and sometimes you don't want to get back up, but there's people out there that are out there. There's people out there grinding and hustling and putting in the work that are just like you and me, that sometimes just a little inspiration, a little bit of, hey, I'm in your shoes too. I know what it feels like.
Yep.
Can go a long way to help people just one more day push further, and that one more day could lead to, you know, huge success. You never know when it's going to come. It comes at the most unexpected times.
Yeah, I totally agree.
What would you say, because I was going to ask you this beforehand, what artists or who's been the biggest influence for you in the music industry?
Whew, okay, that's a big question. I've listened to so many different types of music. I mean, I have had just like phases of my life where I'm like steadily listening to like Sublime and like reggae. Then I moved into like emo music and punk rock from there, and then started listening to classic rock to get in touch with like the past, and then I moved into hip hop. So I mean, like, I'm pretty well versed. I feel like there's like moments in my life where I was like a 5-year stretch of only listening to this, only listening to that, and then brings me to where I am today, where I actually know everything, a little bit of everything. As far as musicians go, the heavy hitters, J. Cole, Drake, Kanye. You see what they do with their career and where they could take it globally. I mean, everyone knows the name.
Yeah.
That's got to be, the most inspirational thing. As far as DJs go, I mean, obviously there's many massive DJs who are globally known. But I do nowadays tend to steer towards people who are both musicians and business owners, like Jay-Z. Other people have brands, and it could be a fragrance brand, it could be a merch brand, it can be running a label.
Yeah.
The biggest thing in music at this point is the streaming doesn't make you the most money. It actually probably makes you sometimes the least money.
If you get a bad deal. Yeah.
Yeah, so, as a musician, there's many revenue streams. It could be opening a studio that does sessions and lessons, music lessons. You could have a merch brand or a fragrance. You see that a lot of times. You could be doing like music consulting or classes, or doing a lot of like educational stuff, then also making music on top of that.
Yeah.
So a lot of the books that I'm reading these days are guys like 50 Cent who have taken that music step, and then how did they reinvest that money into other things that still have to deal with their brand, but are lucrative long term. versus them just phasing out and then not having anything from there.
100%. I mean, I think that there's a lot of artists that were back in the day that were big that didn't do that, and where are they now? Like, did that career last you your whole lifetime, and you don't have to worry about money anymore, and your families are, taken care of, and
It happens in sports too.
100%.
Get a ton of money, spend it all.
Yeah, and I think that that's also having good management, good people behind you that are helping you invest your money, putting it in right places. Have you seen the show Ballers?
I have not.
Okay, it's with The Rock.
That's with he's an agent for like sports.
Yeah,
right?
so he's the agent for like NFL people, and so
Okay.
it just shows you like, and I think there's some statistics that like a big percentage of, I think it was NFL athletes like go bankrupt in their lifetime because they just spend all their money and they don't know how to manage it. And so, I think that goes back towards the educational system, because a lot of these guys are young and they're signing huge contracts. Like, there's guys our age signing hundreds of millions of dollars of deals over 10 years. And what do they do with that
Younger
money?
than us.
Younger. Yeah.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes. I think,
21 years old.
yeah.
Some of them might be 19
Mbappe,
signing a deal
the
like that.
soccer player, a $1 billion deal. Like, who's that guy's agent and who's telling him what to do? Hopefully he's got a good one, but a majority of them don't. A lot of them choose
people
their...
telling them what to do are probably trying to get the money in their own pockets too.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of these guys, they choose their friends and people they grew up with, which I understand, but is that person the best person for you to, and what to do with your money and like you said, build something long term?
Yeah.
It may not be, but that's just the numbers and how it goes. And I think that in general, people need to take responsibility for their lives, 100% of it. You're responsible for literally every aspect, and people want to act like they're not. People need to take responsibility that they don't know how taxes work. They don't know how credit works. They don't know how to save money. Like, you can take the action steps to learn how to do that. The education and the information's out there.
Yeah.
And so,
YouTube University, read a couple of books, find a mentor.
Yeah. Finding a mentor, I think, is something that is huge, because for me, I wouldn't be where I am today without the mentors that put me on game, that invested the time, invested money, invested what they did in me to help me become a better person and leader. And, sometimes people are like, well, I don't have a mentor. Where do I find one? Like, you got to put yourself out there and go to events. Start meeting people.
Yeah.
I did personal development work here in Vegas, and that's where I met tons of business owners. I met the owner of the solar company. I met the owners of the hospital that when I worked in Mexico. Just dozens, famous athletes, poker players, people that I met because I took a risk and put myself out there and did what majority of people aren't willing to do, which is like with this personal development program, it was all about like going in and looking at yourself at a deeper level, which can be scary. There's some emotions that come up. You go through your past. We talked about divorce and things like that happen. Like, you want that shit to be over, right? And a lot of people just kind of move past things in their life versus taking it head on. And so through that process, right, I was in there with a room of tons of different types of people. Different ages, different races, different professions. Here in Vegas. Okay. This is what brought me here to Vegas. So when I grew up in Connecticut. I graduated high school. I was 17, and my sister got me to come down here to Vegas and do the emotional intelligence work. So EQ is what the term is, and so basically what EQ is your ability to understand yourself and understand other people at a deeper emotional level. And so you have your IQ, which is like your intelligence and how, you can use your brain, your smarts, right? And then there's your EQ is like the emotional side, your ability to relate with others, your ability to network with people and develop relationships. And so this training is just basically looking into a mirror of yourself and how you show up in the world and show up to other people, getting honest feedback from them, and figuring out what's in your way. What are the barriers and walls in my way of becoming a better version of myself? And from there, you're doing self-work, and you're going deeper to release the things in your past that you're holding on to,
Yeah.
right? Like fixed beliefs. Have you heard that term before?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a lot of those growing up from a poor family. It's like, yeah, I never thought I could become, I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say rich, but steady.
Yeah, because that's what you saw growing
Yeah.
up. So people develop these fixed
Yeah.
beliefs about themselves that aren't true, but because they're telling themselves at a subconscious level, it becomes reality. So people need to do self-work, do self-development, personal development work to identify what your fixed beliefs are as a person. It could be around money, relationships, business, life, whatever it is, and identify those so that you can realize that they're not true and break through them and start creating new ones, start creating a new lens of how you're looking the world at.
Yeah.
Because
No, I hear
everyone's got
that.
their lenses on, right? And so you got to create new lenses of how you view the world and view things. And in turn, you're going to create different results. So
Yeah.
I did that when I was 17. That brought me here to Vegas. And so I dropped out of college. I was going to CSN for a semester. And I was
Okay.
like, I don't want to do this. This isn't for me. And so I dropped out and I just invested myself fully in this emotional intelligence work.
So you were attending, and then you ended up working with them?
Yes. Well, so I went as a student
Yeah.
first, and I went through my experience, which was a 100-day long course.
Okay.
So during that course, I worked with a life coach. I set goals. I went through different trainings in the classroom. And then after I graduated, I had the opportunity to go back as a coach and be a life coach for other people going through the class too.
I did not know that.
So
I knew about the working in the hospital and
Yeah.
stuff like that. I didn't know that's what brought you to
yeah,
Vegas.
so that was before I went to the hospital and worked there. I worked in this personal development training here. It's here in Vegas. It's literally right off the Russell and 215.
What's it called?
It's called Choice Center.
Okay.
And so I'm actually going to be there tomorrow. There's a training that they're doing. I haven't taken it in years. And so I'm just stepping back in the room because it's a refresher of tools that I can use in my business, in my relationships, in life in general to navigate obstacles, to learn from different challenges, and to grow as a person. And so I really invested myself during those years, and through that, I met so many different people, business owners, entrepreneurs, regular people, I guess you would say. And that's what led me to, I met the people who actually at the time, they didn't even have the hospital. They were in my class, and they set a goal inside of there to start a hospital in Mexico to treat cancer patients and to help people. And so that came to fruition during that
Yeah.
time.
They needed to break through themselves.
Yeah.
That one extra step of encouragement to go actually get it
Yeah.
going.
And it's more than just the mindset too. They actually put together action plans and strategies, and you work with that coach to hold you accountable to them.
Got it.
So it's a really in-depth thing, and so it was back to what we were talking about, just like you got to take responsibility for your life. If you want to get to the next level, it's on you. So there's things out there. There's personal development courses. There's personal development books. There's YouTube videos. There's courses. Go and take the initiative to get better, because if you don't, no one's just going to come and hand you on a silver platter everything you're looking for in life. It's just not going to happen. If you, just like yourself, if you grow up with nothing, grow up poor, grow up with not a lot of support, you got to go out and make it happen on your own.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, kind of brings me back to two things based off everything you just said. First and foremost, when I had the realization that I needed to get things on my own was growing up. My parents did have decent jobs at first when they came to Vegas, right? Granted, it's not always their fault. One of the companies my mom worked for went bankrupt. She had to move to a new company, start all over again from the bottom, right? They did move here at a young age, so they were mixed up into the drugs and alcohol, and not fully focused. But I get it. It's Vegas. You come here, sometimes you're not going to be thriving right away. You might get caught up in the scene. It happens to the best of us. But growing up, I did see, as the youngest of three, when my brother, turned 16, they got him a car. My sister got her a permit, whatever. She was driving a car. And then when I turned that age, in my head, because I saw, as a kid, seeing my brother just get his whip, my sister getting her whip,
Yeah.
in my head I thought, okay, when I turn 15, 16, get my permit or whatever, my parents are going to buy me a car. That's not how it happened. At that point of life, they weren't doing as well as they were before. And so in my head, I was thinking, wow, how unfair of that, of they get this, but I didn't get that. Another example is both my brothers and my sisters played sports growing up or danced. I didn't play sports until high school. I never played sports before that because they couldn't afford at that point for me to get put into leagues and whatnot. And I'd look at pictures in like books and whatnot or frames around the house, and I'd say, why did they get all these experiences, but I didn't? I think eventually over time, I realized as things got worse, the economy got worse, and eventually at the end of high school, we lost our house due to the, I graduated in 2010. So what is that Great Recession? 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, that whole era, where we even got our house taken from us. I'm thinking to myself, how does this keep happening to me? Right? I'm blaming it on them. I'm saying I'm unlucky, but then I have to actually realize and change my mindset. No, they were dealt bad hands. At work, the economy is not their fault, right? What can I do to now get my own car, to get my own house? And I think there was a flip of a switch in my head saying, okay, it's happened to me 3 times throughout my life. I'm now realizing it's not a handout that's going to be given to me from my parents. I need to go out there and get these things on my own.
Yeah, 100%. I think you hit the nail on the head. Like you took in that moment when things happen, when something bad happens or you're dealt a bad hand, you can easily be a victim to it.
I was for a while too. For many examples, I was.
Yeah, and the thing is, when you're a victim to circumstances in your life, they don't change and they stay that way. And you have people in your life that all they do is complain and complain and complain. It's like if you want your life to be better, if you want your life to be different, then you've got to go and make some changes. You've got to go do something different to have it be different.
Yeah.
And it comes from that mindset of taking responsibility. Like, I was dealt this bad hand, but I'm going to play it anyways and figure out how to win regardless of what I was dealt.
Yeah, it's almost more fun that way.
It really is. You know, no one likes to just be handed stuff because you take it for granted.
Yeah.
When you're handed something, you don't appreciate it as much as if you created it yourself from nothing and put in the hard work.
Yeah.
And so
when I have like friends who like came from a lot of money, it's so funny to see like the dynamic of like some of them who are like unappreciative of it and don't even realize what they have versus someone who was parented to where their parents didn't give them anything, even though they could have. You had to earn it, right? So that's actually a difficult thing to even think about long term.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you take it for granted, and then when it's not there, then that's like truly who you are as a person shows up. Then that's where, because getting it back is going to be difficult if you lose it. And I went through similar stuff like you're talking about during that time, during the recession. My dad, when I was in high school, filed for bankruptcy. He had 2 restaurants. Yep. He had to close one down. I'm from Sandy Hook, Connecticut, where the elementary school shooting happened. Yep. My dad's restaurant was a block away. That was just heavy on him and on our business. On his business back then.
The community in general.
The community in general, it was just like it shattered everyone, and it was just the nail in the coffin for my dad with his businesses. He just shut them down. He's like, I'm just done with this. He had teachers that my dad was big in the community. He used to do a lot of stuff, doing luncheons for the teachers of that elementary school and all the schools in the area. And so like he lost friends, and those, people lost their children. And so it was a heartbreaking time. And so like, in business, there's going to be things that come at you that could knock you off your feet, that make you want to quit. And at the end of the day, that really is going to represent who you really are as a person in those moments, in those difficult times. Are you going to quit and give up? Or are you going to get back on your feet and keep going and follow through to what it is you're there to create long term? And to be honest, like that's what separates the people who make it and the people that don't, is giving up or persevering and continuing to go after the goal.
Heard that.
Yeah.
That's why we're sitting here together.
That's why we're
today.
sitting here, bro. I appreciate you coming on. I wanted to ask you too, like, what are your thoughts on the studio? Because this is a new studio. We first built it. You were here a couple years ago, and we made some changes. What do you think?
I've actually been through 3 versions of your podcast studio.
Right.
The original one, I think, was near like Sunset Park.
Tiny little.
Another one, yeah, that was the smallest office,
Small
right?
one.
Outgrew that, and then you moved into, I think it was Henderson area.
It was Fort Apache.
Was it Fort Apache? Okay.
Yeah, it was up here.
That was the last one I was at.
That was the last one.
And then now we're here. Incredible office, large space, multiple rooms, and obviously this one being the podcast area. High-end setup over here. Like, you can't see on the other side of this camera, but the lighting is incredible. All of the gear is high-end. Shure mics, I'm familiar, right, as a music tech guy. But I've always loved that you gave the opportunity for people in the community to come in here and use, or wherever it was before, and use the space to, get their word out, get their story out. I've come in with other hosts, even when we're renting the space and utilizing the equipment, much easier than having me to buy all this stuff and set up shop in my house. So I appreciate you, one, having me, and continuously over and over again. This is the 3rd or 4th time I've worked in your studio. To tell my story and create content for people to hear and get inspired by. So I appreciate you for that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
If we can collaborate on any level and support some of your artists and people you're representing in the marketing, social media aspect, like, bring them on here. Let's get them in the studio, get them to tell their stories like you, and have them create it's a great way to create a lot of content. I know, like, after this, we're going to break up this podcast and get you a bunch of content for yourself you can use, and for myself and for the studio. So it's just, to me, it's a win-win.
You know what? I'm going to say it on camera. I'm going to take you up on that. I'm going to bring some artists in here.
Okay.
I'll probably do the hosting, but if you come sit in, help us get set up, definitely take advantage of that opportunity, because it's necessary. People need to tell their story. And personally, I think outside of just being a musician, anyone can have good music, but I think the people who excel the most are being able to show other sides of them online, and people really connect to that. And by telling your story, I think it brings you that much farther as an artist.
Agreed, 100%. Yeah. I love it. Well, Leo, thanks for coming on. I look forward to our next encounter, our next podcast. We'll see if we're in the same building, or hopefully we're in a bigger one with multiple
5,
studios.
We're going to be who knows where.
That's the goal. That's the goal.
Universal studio status.
I know, right? Cool, man. Well, great chopping it up with you. I'll see you soon.
Yes, sir. Peace.
Later.